Hi there folks, and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video I'll once again be taking a look at some of the best mods on the Steam Workshop for Project Zomboid. So if you've already got a collection of a few hundred mods that you're running in every playthrough, well, you might want to brace yourself just to add one or two more to that already gargantuan list. As always, all the mods in this video will be linked down in the description, and if you enjoyed the video be sure to drop it a like and subscribe for more content not just on Project Zomboid but other zombie and survival titles too. We're kicking this video off with a mod I know a bunch of people are going to be very eager to hear about. Now, unless you've been living under a rock or joined Project Zomboid very recently, you've probably already heard about Phillybuster Rhymes Used Cars. It's one of the most popular mods on the workshop for Project Zomboid, and without a doubt the most popular mod for vehicles, with over 2 million current subscribers. If you're one of the many players using this mod, you'll be happy to know that a brand new additional mod has been released called Phillybuster Rhymes Used Cars Animation Beta, and it does exactly what the title suggests, adding a ton of animations to the vehicles the mod brings to the game. That includes things like opening doors, lifting the hood to see what's contained within, which has actually been modeled by the way and looks pretty convincing, and even filling up the trunk with loot that you've collected from your latest scavenging run. The animations extend to trailers too, actively showing the process of hitching a trailer to a vehicle with this new update. One thing to keep in mind here, if you decide to run this new mod, you don't need to run the original Phillybuster Rhymes Used Cars, you only need this mod, do not run them together. Oh, and if you want to make sure the vanilla vehicles are animated as well, pair this up with Vanilla Vehicles Animated, which I covered in one of my previous videos, but will be in this mod pack as well. With both of these mods in play, all the vehicles in your game will come with full animations. Alright, so next up, let's take a look at a couple of quality of life mods specifically focused on vehicles to go with your flashy new animations. First up is Condition on Dash, which is a really small one that adds a very common sense feature to the dashboard in your vehicle. Essentially, when hovering over parts on your dash, you'll now see what condition those parts are in. This means you won't need to get out of the vehicle to check on these things, and most importantly, you'll be able to monitor the condition of your engine so you don't have any unfortunate mishaps out on the road. Another fantastic option for vehicles is the mod Off-Road Go Brr. And yes, I appreciate that it sounds funny when I say that in a video. This mod adds some more realistic handling to vehicles when off the beaten track, allowing vehicles in the heavy duty class to perform much better when off-road. This means that if you have a truck or a jeep, you're going to find that you can drive at almost normal speeds without being on a paved road, whereas standard class vehicles will perform better than they did before, but not as well as heavy duty vehicles, and finally the sports class of vehicles will perform much worse off-road. There's some sandbox settings for this mod to adjust the handling to your needs as well if you don't like how they come by default. Okay, so that's some mods for your vehicles. How about some more quality of life mods for other aspects of the game next? Some of you might know already that in the next major build for Project Zomboid, that being build 42, we're expecting some sounds for characters. These sounds will mostly take place when your character is exerting themselves, doing things like climbing over fences, carrying heavy items, or of course, fighting those pesky zombies. If you can't wait for build 42 though, you could try the mod Player Grunt Sounds, which adds a voice to your character during combat. Now, granted, this doesn't add sounds to everything and seems to exclusively be for fighting right now, it is still an interesting sneak peek of what we might be able to expect from build 42. The sounds aren't too regular or too sparse, and the audio levels are just about right to fit with the rest of the game's volume levels. Something to try in your next run that fits with just about any other mod you can think of. Next up, one of my personal favorites, even if it's a very small addition to the game. This is the mod Foraging Screen Illustrations, and if you're an avid user of the foraging skill in Project Zomboid, you're going to absolutely love this one. In short, this mod adds a range of custom artwork to the foraging panel. Every single biome from urban areas to forests and trailer parks have been given a completely custom art piece, and they've done a stellar job with all of them. No, it isn't going to be a game changer and it won't add any new mechanics, but all the same, it's a very nice aesthetic addition to the game just to give it a bit of a new look. Alright, so moving away from those smaller quality of life improvements for the next one, I've got a big ticket item for you in this next mod that will offer new mechanics entirely. This is Weekly Quests Pack, designed by popular modder turned Project Zomboid team member Soul Filcher. The mod adds several conveniently placed characters that you can find out in the world to give you a new quest every in-game week. The locations of these quest givers can be found on the workshop page page, or you can find them yourself, but to give you just one example, I visited a lovely fellow in the Rusty Rifle south of Muldraw. He gave me a quest to retrieve a skill book for him, which was fairly easy to acquire thanks to a quick trip to Muldraw Elementary. Other quests include collecting canned food, ammunition, or even catching food from fishing. Each completed quest will give you some reputation points with that specific quest giver and some money, which in the vanilla game has no real purpose, but if you pair this mod up with any of the trading mods on the workshop, you'll soon find these quests are a great way to build up money to purchase items. Quests in Project Zomboid actually fit surprisingly well with the setting, and I'd love to see this mod developed further into some real narrative-driven stories, but until then, this is a fantastic start. Okay, for our next mod in today's video, we'll all be taking a trip, or rather a shamble, down to the Winchester, and waiting for this whole thing to blow over. With the Act Undead mod, you'll be able to replicate one of the most iconic scenes in zombie media and test your acting skills by attempting to pass as one of the many shambling Zeds out on the streets of Kentucky. For the most part, you'll be able to slip by large groups of zombies unnoticed, but the longer you keep up your facade, the more chance there is that your disguise will be rumbled and one of the Zeds might take a little nibble just to test the waters. Despite the risks, this mod offers a good chance to try some alternative ways to loot areas that might otherwise be too difficult to take on in a head-on assault. It's always good to have options after all. Next up, I've got a mod for all those people that are looking for the ultimate storage organization mod. We've had a few of these mods in videos before today, but I think this one is going to really take the cake and come out as the best option currently on the workshop. This is the Smarter Storage mod, and the customization aspects of this mod alone make it stand out as the best in its class. If you're someone that leaves loot all over your base and has some serious trouble sorting items into categories, you'll have no excuse after downloading this one. You'll be able to attach icons of your choice to loot containers, change the name of the containers themselves in the inventory panel, and even apply a color of choice too. For those that don't like to spend too much time messing around with things like this though, and I know there's plenty of you out there, there's some presets you can choose from that cover just about any category of loot you can think of, from vehicles and medical supplies to weapons and ammunition. This mod works with existing saves so long as you aren't running the mods Let Me Think or Shops and Traders, and it works in multiplayer as well, so you'll be able to enforce loot rules amongst friends sharing your safe house with ease. I'm sure they'll listen to you. Right? So the next mod I've got on the list for today's video is a fairly simple one called Muti's Context Menu Icons Expanded and Redrawn, and this isn't going to change your game forever in any massive ways, but it is going to flesh out your right-click menus with lots of neat little icons. Over 35 new icons have been added, with 20 more being redrawn from vanilla options. These include things like resting, grabbing items, drinking, sleeping, and much more. This is actually something I've always felt was missing from the vanilla game. There are so many interactions we can complete that just have no symbols attached to them, and while that isn't a huge issue, it does feel a little out of place, and this mod rights that problem for the most part. There's no issues running this mod in multiplayer servers, and the modder has plans to continue adding more icons to the mod, so if you enjoy this one, you can look forward to some future updates. Okay, so have you ever spent time cooking some elaborate meal in Project Zomboid with tons of different ingredients, really hoping to benefit from a well-fed buff, only for it to drop off within a few minutes of getting it? Well, then this next mod might be the remedy you're after. This is the Longer Stats mod, and it aims to fix issues like the one I've just mentioned by tweaking the duration of certain effects. The well-fed buff will last longer, for example, giving you a good amount of time to make use of increased strength and carry weight. Likewise, burning damage is reduced, so that in the unfortunate event you accidentally catch yourself on fire, you won't just burn to death without being able to do anything about it. Keep in mind also that it will take longer to heal from wounds with this mod, and that drunkenness will wear off slower. The great thing about this particular mod though is that if any of the values don't seem quite right for you, you can adjust them in the sandbox settings to your liking. It's simple, effective, and resolves what I think is a bit of a bugbear for many players. So, we've only got a couple of mods left to cover in this video, but I couldn't let this one go by without finding something for the players that like to go in search of items and collectibles for the pure enjoyment enjoyment of it. This mod is called Collections, and as you might suspect, it adds a bunch of item sets that you can seek out and find in the world. That includes a huge array of comic books that have actual artwork from real comics on the covers, various medals, some of which are fictional and others rooted in reality, and even a selection of helmets to acquire. Many of the helmets can be worn on your character, comics can be bagged and boarded to display in your safe house as prized possessions, and most of these items have also been added to the foraging tables as well, so you have other ways to find them outside of simply looting. Okay, so that brings me nicely to the final mod for today's video, which is aptly named Dense Environment. And if you've ever looked at parts of Project Zomboid and thought to yourself that big patch of grass doesn't look very convincing, then this is going to be a mod you'll want to try. Essentially, Dense Environment adds more ground clutter to your surroundings, whether that's in the form of tufts of grass to make fields look a bit more believable, or trash being strewn about trailer parks to make them seem more lived in. These are just two examples, but the aim of the mod is basically to add believable and realistic clutter to the world around you. Now, with this mod, there does come an impact to performance, so if your PC is already struggling with Project Zomboid at times, this may not be advisable for you, or you risk overworking your rig. But if you don't have much trouble running the game as is and want a bit more detail in your surroundings, give this mod a try. So that's it from me in this one, folks, and as always, all of the mods I've covered will be down in the description as part of a handy mod collection. If you like this video, be sure to drop it a like. I cover new mods for Project Zomboid every month at the moment, so subscribe for more stuff just like this. And lastly, I'd like to say a very special thank you to all of my Patreon subscribers for supporting the channel for as little as £3 a month, and for joining our whitelisted Project Zomboid server, which is hosting a wilderness survival wipe this month on our very own custom map, Lost to Nature. Link in the description if you'd like to join them, and I will see you all in the next one.